Hi guys. First off, I just want to say thank you for the warm welcome back to YouTube. I really appreciate the comments that were left and the thumbs up. It really validates my drive to come on here and share about this topic with you. If you are new to my channel, my name is Ellen and I am the mother of two incredible children. I have a 4-year-old neurotypical daughter and a 7-year-old son with autism spectrum disorder. So today I wanted to talk about the wait to get a diagnosis and just that period of time where you suspect that your child may have ASD until you actually get a diagnosis. And for me, that was 16 months, and it was a very long time for me. It was a very emotional time. So I'm hoping that now I'm on the other side of that, that some of these tips might help you if you are in the same position. My first tip is to do your research. We are very fortunate now in 2019 that autism is widely publicized. There are many good, credible internet resources, many published books. I will link below. Autism Speaks has the current DSM-5, some information about diagnostic criteria. So if you're suspecting autism, you can read through that to help you get an idea. I think that research really helps you. Maybe you're suspecting autism because somebody has suggested that to you, like a physician or a family member. My son started in special education when he was 2 years old, and he kept accumulating diagnoses until he was 5, when I realized, oh my goodness, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. He has autism. It was shocking to me that I didn't see it before. As a former elementary school teacher who has worked with a lot of students with autism, I just didn't see it at first. So it can take some time to realize it, but once you do have suspicions, it's important to start taking action. Your primary care physician is unlikely to be an expert in developmental disorders, so you could start by speaking with them and getting a referral to someone who can actually give you a formal diagnosis. My next tip is to recognize that autism is a spectrum disorder, which means it can look very different for different people, just like all people who are neurotypical are different from each other. So your child does not need to meet every single box on the diagnostic criteria. They need to show differences or deficits in social communication and repetitive or characteristic behaviors. So for example, my son can make pretty good eye contact. That's confusing for people because their interpretation of autism is that the social deficit means that you can't make eye contact. Social deficits can look different. For example, my son will try to initiate a conversation with a stranger whose back is turned to him and they're 30 feet away. That's not typical social communication. Or he will speak at a volume that is far too loud for the conversation consistently. That's another example. For repetitive behaviors, I think a lot of people just think of rocking as one that's commonly seen in autism, or flapping. Your child doesn't have to rock and flap to still be eligible for a diagnosis. So repetitive behaviors can mean different things. For example, my son, one of his repetitive behaviors is to jump back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. So it can look different. It can be sensory issues. It could be adhering strictly to schedules and kind of insisting on that. So it can look like different things. So just keep that in mind. My next tip is to trust your gut. I can pretty much guarantee you that you will have at least one person tell you that your child does not have autism. Maybe they'll say it that directly, maybe they'll beat around the bush and just ask questions about it. But if you feel in your gut, after reading about autism and observing your child, if you feel it in your gut, you need to keep pursuing a diagnosis so that you can support your child. I had definitely experienced people in my personal life with that, and it puts this teeny tiny seed of doubt in your mind. I always knew it was still there, but it does kind of mess with your head a little bit. Keep going anyway. The first doctor that I took my son to did not see ASD in him, and I believed it for about a month, and then I couldn't believe it. I couldn't not see it. So I waited for another 14 months for the cream of the crop doctor in my area who diagnoses developmental disorders, and got that diagnosis in addition to a diagnosis from a psychologist, in addition to the diagnosis from his school district. So I knew it was there, kept on going because I knew that that label would open doors for him, and it already has. Speaking of opening doors, my next tip is to research therapies that you think could benefit your child. Oftentimes there's a long wait for therapies and you need a referral, so you could start getting going on the referral process. And also just keep in mind that you don't need to start everything all at once, but just what things are available to you. Just get an idea of what's available in your community. Also, you can look and see if your area has developmental disability services and see if an autism diagnosis meets the criteria for that, so you can get going on the paperwork for getting services such as respite care hours or community involvement or equipment purchases, etc. So often you're waiting for a really long time if you're on the list to be evaluated. So getting a leg up on that type of things saves you time. If you do get that diagnosis, then it's not so overwhelming of what do I do next. You kind of have a plan in the back of your head of here's what I can do to take action to help my child. And my last tip is self-care. If you are in the tunnels of obsessively reading about autism and letting it consume your mind, it becomes unhealthy. There's a boundary that I had to learn of what was too much, and I'm still actively researching autism and therapies and best ways to interact and so many things, but as I was waiting, I was realizing I was becoming quite obsessed with it. So it's important to take breaks from it. Find something that's really nourishing for you. For me, that's yoga. I spend a lot of time practicing yoga. It's a chance for my brain to completely unplug for it. Look for support in other ways too, just to cope with this. I'm not on social media personally, but I know a lot of people really like being on Facebook and all those other things. And there's different groups that you can reach out to also to get support, talk to family and friends, and just really take care of yourself. This is a big time in your life and you're going through a lot and you're doing awesome. Just take it day by day. I hope these tips helped you. Please leave any comments or questions. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.